What is up, everybody? Welcome to the inaugural episode of Broadened Horizin, the MMA podcast show that will bring you conversation in English with your favorite Rizin superstars and personalities. You name them, we'll have them here before and after every Rizin event. That is going to be the plan for when we'll have the episodes. I am your host, Drake Riggs, and joining me along this journey will be my co-host and translator to help, get things in English, Mr. Shingo Kashiwagi. So, thank you so much for joining, you guys. And whether you're watching on YouTube or mymmanews.com, you could be listening on the LoudMouth MMA Podcast Network, even where, there's the Not Safe for Work MMA show. Fantastic podcast. The MMA Takeover. They have breakdowns. They have previews. There's the Shillin' and Duffy show. I mean, they got it all. And now the Broadened Horizin is also going to be a part of that family. Very excited. And we have a very good lineup, a stacked lineup to kick things off. On the very first show, we have the new Rizin Bantamweight champion, Kai Asakura. He joined us, and it was a great chat there. The rising Bantamweight prospect, Naoki Inoue. And then, of course, two GOATs. We have the Atomweight GOAT and the former Rizin champion, Ayaka Hamasaki, and the living legend herself, one of the greatest fighters ever, period, Megumi Fujii. So, without further ado, I think we can get right into it, you guys. Thanks so much for listening, watching, whatever you're doing. Shingo is joining me. You won't be seeing him until the end, but you will hear him, and we recap what went down. So thanks so much, guys. Enjoy. Joining us first will be the Bantamweight Rizin champion, Kai Asakura. All right. Thanks so much for joining me, champ. Means a lot. I'm excited to have you here. I got to know, man, has it settled in that you're the champion now? Like, how's the feeling? It's, you've had 4 weeks to digest it. Do you feel like the champion?
Honestly, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to be the champion. But, this is not my goal. It's just a mile marker. So, I'm not going to settle here. I'm not going to be very happy with what I have. I can't really, this is just a mile marker. I have my goals set much higher.
Of course. Can never get too settled. I shouldn't got carried away there. But, so how did it feel, to get, aside from being in the title fight and all that, but how did it feel to get to fight again after having to wait, through the quarantine? Everyone had to deal with it differently, I'm sure. But for was it like such a relief to get back in there?
Yeah, I wasn't able to fight for over 8 months, and there were certain times where there was the opportunity was presented, but still I couldn't fight. So it just meant everything that I could fight again.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure it was something a lot of people had to deal with, of course, in the fighting world. But you're very big on YouTube. I was looking at your numbers the other day, and very popular. So I'm sure you were staying busy making videos and all that. Is it hard to come up with ideas?
So yeah, all the contents from my YouTube channel, I come up with the ideas, and I'm just looking for things to do on a regular basis. So that's what I'm thinking about, what can be interesting content throughout the day.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a fun challenge to kind of try and think of videos and all that. I mean, I saw one that it looked like a prank. You were doing like a scary ghost type of prank. Do you like to do the prank videos, or are there more of those I missed out on?
I like to pull pranks on people, but I think it's just my personality that I get pranked more often than I get to prank people.
It's just how it goes. Sometimes it comes back at you. So enough with the YouTube. So as for the fight, the big win over Hiromasa, I mean, man, phenomenal performance. Did that play out as you expected? I mean, I'm sure, of course you go in confident and plan to do exactly what you want, but when it actually unfolds as well as it does, I mean, is that exactly what you thought would happen in the fight going in?
So yeah, that fight played out the way I wanted it to play out. I did a lot of research on my opponent before the fight, and I learned some of his tells during the fight and what he would do. So, he did exactly what I studied on, and it just all fit perfectly.
Yeah, that was very obvious watching it play out too. And of course, the loss to Cape in your fight before that was probably a big motivator. So do you feel like that was a really, maybe a necessary thing that you needed to have, to get to this point and take this next step, as opposed to if you didn't have that loss and, that extra motivation?
I do feel that because of that loss, I was able to look into my weak points. I was able to look back at what I needed to work on. So in words, yes, that loss definitely made me stronger and make me who I am right now.
And, in terms of what was the bigger win, I mean, Horiguchi, that upset was the upset of the year, one of the greatest upsets ever, really, if we're being totally honest. But not for the title. This one title fight, you go out there, do your thing, just like you did against Horiguchi. Which one was a bigger win for you? The title or knocking off the champion, but not getting the title, I guess.
So yeah, this is a tough question because both fights are important. But if I had to choose, beating Horiguchi probably means more because Horiguchi is a well-respected name in the industry, and beating him probably it means more to me than winning the title by beating somebody less.
Yeah, I can definitely see both sides to that one. And I mean, in terms of who could be next for you, I mean, I've seen, the rumblings of like, oh, maybe Horiguchi will come back and you guys can have a rematch where, you're the champion now. Is that kind of the next move you're looking at? Or is there somebody that you have in mind? Maybe if it's not Horiguchi.
So my big priority, is the rematch with Horiguchi, and beating him is my number one priority at the moment. And after that, if this pandemic continues, it means that I can only face Japanese fighters after that. So if that's the case, I'm not too motivated in facing anybody after I beat Horiguchi. So that's my current state of mind.
Okay. And do you have like an ideal time when you're thinking you'd like to defend your title for the first time too, whether it's against Horiguchi or not? Are you're looking at when you want to fight again already?
So I know for a fact that New Year's Eve, I'll be fighting on New Year's Eve. But if things work out, I might be fighting this month.
Ooh, okay. Interesting. All right. Very cool. And, it's just one final thing mentioning Horiguchi, but, he was somebody before the pandemic, Bellator and Rizin were starting to do their cross promoting and very big success. The fans love that. I love that. And, he went over and became champion of Bellator as well as the Rizin champion. Assuming that, things can happen where Bellator and Rizin work together again, would you like to maybe do something like that where you go and fight, whoever the Bellator champion ends up being, after they figure out, who wins the vacant title?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very interested. I definitely have my eyes on the Bellator belt.
All right, cool. That would be something awesome to see too. I hope that, something like that can happen down the line as well when things get more normal again. But, your brother, Mikuru, a very talented fighter in his own right. Both you guys, two of the best brothers, tandems, that there are in MMA right now. Big success between you both. I'm sure, is it something you think about, trying to be, put respect on your family name and prove that you guys are the best group of brothers in MMA, the family success? Is that something that plays a part in your journey?
There's a part of me that hopes I want people to know me as an individual fighter. But the other half of me wants us to be known as the Asakura brothers. It's a hard question.
Yeah, definitely. Because you always want to kind of try and stand out a little bit too. But when you're both, so successful, and you don't want your brother to not do good, so it's a tough spot to be in, I imagine, right? Is that, I mean, yeah, that's a hard thing to tackle, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a hard spot to be in, I imagine.
I think right now we have a good balance between both of us. Everything's working out in a positive way. We get to motivate each other. It's a good motivation on both ends. if my brother does well, I know I got to keep up, vice versa. So right now it's working out quite nice.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. I mean, you got a big gold belt next to your mantle now, so that's always nice. But that is all I got for you, Kai. So thank you so much, man. Really an honor to get to talk to you. Of course, look forward to whatever's next for you. You're the champ now. Congratulations, man.
Thank you very much.
And from Kai Asakura, we will go to one of the greatest fighters of all time, the one and only Megumi Fujii. All right, thanks so much for joining me. I had to talk to you after, first the Rizin events and then finishing up the story. I gotta know, did you get to read it? What did you think? I gotta hear it from you. What'd you think?
So the piece was much more longer than I anticipated it to be, and it was well written and thought out, that if a person read that who didn't know me would get to know me, and it was put that way, and I was very honored and I was very happy that someone would put in their time to make something like this, to write something like this. So I'm very grateful to you.
Oh, well, it was my honor. I mean, that was the goal too. You got to make it readable to everybody and help them get to know you if they didn't already. And those that do know you, maybe give them, a little bit of a deeper look into, more of your life and your journey and all that. So yeah, it was my honor, really. Thank you so much for giving me even the chance to do it. I think somebody should have done it a long time ago before me, but the fact that I got to do it, that's incredible and means so much. And to somebody like you, a legend. I mean, it's still crazy for me to even talk to you right now. So thank you again for letting me have that opportunity. And, what do you think of the comments from everybody as well, all the other people I got to talk to?
So yeah, most of the comments I got are obviously from English speaking friends, and they were blown away of how my story was. There's some angles that they didn't know about me, and a lot of positive comments. And for me, I've never become a champion, so I've never had a belt. So my name will not be written in the books, and it won't be left on a record as a champion. But I think you made something that will remain in the books, which probably wouldn't have happened because I don't have a champion belt. I'm not a champion. I won't be remembered as a champion of something. But you produced something that would be remembered. And it's been 7 or 8 years after I retired, but I'm just very grateful that people still talk about me. My name is I'm very grateful that my name is still brought up during conversations. Some people take their time to go back and watch some of my fights, and this is something that turned out to be something very memorable, and I'm very happy that you were able to make something so great that would remain.
And that was the goal, of course. But yeah, I mean, of course, you're incredibly humble. But I got to know, what is it like when you see, people like other champions, other people who are considered, the greatest of all time? Because, you're in that conversation, whether you want to admit it or not. But like Cris Cyborg, I talked to her and, seeing her say, yeah, Megumi should definitely be in that conversation for the greatest of all time. What does it feel like when you see your peers who are also in that category, say, oh yeah, she's very humble and she won't brag, but maybe she should brag a little bit?
I'm very honored that my name is brought up, in the pound for pound discussions or whatnot. But it's just not my nature to talk about it from myself. I think when people whatever people think from a perspective, that's probably real. So it's just not in my nature to talk about myself that much. And as I said, one of the reasons, one of my goals when I started, when I put myself in MMA, was to put my name out there when people talked about who is the best. When they talked about pound for pound, one of my goals was to make my name get in there and be recognized when people talk about pound for pound. So now when I look back, I think I was able to achieve my goal now in hindsight. But when you're fighting, you just can't see it. You just have no idea how people look at you. And you're just so focused on being the best you can be at the moment. So, now that I look back and put all the pieces together, I think I can proudly say that I did achieve my goal of when I put myself in MMA.
Yeah, I mean, I won't disagree with that. I mean, there's no secret there. And it's funny because I intentionally, I didn't want to ask about this or bring it up the first time we talked, but after talking to everybody and writing the story and all that, and specifically seeing Sakakibara-san's his comments, and I was really surprised to see that he said he was interested in still having, you can maybe compete for Rizin. And so I'm just curious now, after the fact, seeing that, is there any possibility whatsoever that you would consider a comeback?
So what I've realized during all these years that I just love the fight game, right? I love MMA. And I love fighting. I like practicing. I love everything about it. And I still do. So, do I want to fight? Do I not want to fight? No, that's not the case. Is the possibility of me fighting zero? It's not zero. Do I? Yeah, she kept it. She chose her words, right? She was very respectful. Do I not want to fight? No, I do not want to fight. But this is something that I have always been doing, even when I was fighting. Is that I try to look at myself from a third person point of perspective, and I always think about what kind of performance I have to do in order to satisfy the spectators, the fans. And that's how I would that's how I would think, and my mindset would definitely be off of am I performing in a way where I can please the people who watch me fight. And that's always been something in my mindset. So when I think about that now, from a from a perspective, will I be able to perform in a way where people will be satisfied? Will I be able to do the moves to wow the fans? Will I be able to move and perform in a way where it's not rude for the people who paid to watch me fight? So when you think about it from that perspective, I think the answer will be no. So as long as I can't, when I don't think that I will be able to perform to an extent where I won't be able to satisfy the spectators, I don't think I deserve to fight. So, it's a very gray way of putting it, but do I not want to fight? No, I do not want to fight. Is a chance zero of me fighting? Probably not zero. But do I think I have the abilities and skill set to deserve to be fighting in front of people? I'm not that confident. So We'll put it that way.
I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. Definitely. I mean, somebody who's, been entrenched in that lifestyle their whole life, of course, you're always going to want to, do that thing you've been doing for longer than you've not been doing it. Right. So, yeah, I think that definitely makes sense. And, I don't, maybe you've talked with her since then, but, I thought it was interesting when I talked to Jessica Aguilar as well, your former opponent, of course. She had this idea of, maybe you could corner her for her last fight when she's, finally ready to retire now, as she is at the tail end of her career. She said, that would be a good idea that she had, or something cool she thought where, Megumi could, come out and corner me, or maybe I could go against Megumi in my final fight like she did with me. So has she told you about that idea? What do you think of potentially, being in her corner for her last fight?
So she talks to she communicates with Jessica through Instagram, like after her fights, just some simple stuff. She said that first time she met Jessica was, I think she saw her fight for the first time in the States, and then I guess she lost that fight. But Megumi-san was very inspired in the way how Jessica fights, and she was very inspired, and I guess she gave her a T-shirt that she was wearing, just for gratitude of her performance, and I think they've had a ongoing relationship since. And, Fujimegu-san thinks that she owes her a favor. She owes Jessica a favor because Jessica flew all the way from the States to fight me for my retirement fight. So, if Jessica is looking for somebody for her retirement fight, I do have to return the favor, but I'm not quite sure if I can go for a minute. But with all that being said, if she's looking for something and if she wants something and asks for something special for retirement fight, that's something I would really have to think of on doing. But I'm not quite sure if I can last a minute.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. So that sounds like that would be the thing to get you to come back. All right. Now we know. But
yeah, it's very hard. If she asks, it's very hard for me to refuse because I really owe her a favor for fighting me in my retirement fight. I asked for her, and a lot of people worked hard to make that happen. So it's really hard for me to refuse if she asks. So maybe we can do a 1 minute 3-round fight.
Perfect. We'll see what happens. So, obviously I mentioned, you're very humble. Anybody who knows you knows how humble you are. And so would you say that, because I was rewatching one of the Rizin Confessions, it was the one after Ayaka Hamasaki, after she won the title against Kai Asakura. I was watching the confessions, and of course that was a big moment for her and for you yourself as being her mentor. And the emotions were out that night, of course. So would you say that when you compare what you did in the sport and to your students' accomplishments, do you think that you would say your students, what they've been able to accomplish like Ayaka, does that mean more to you than your own?
So it's really hard to compare in terms of accomplishments or what you contributed. It's very hard to compare because if it weren't for the people in the past, there would be no current. And the people current are the people who polished the sport and gave the sport, our sport, recognition. And made it accepted. So if it's very hard to compare those two in terms of accomplishments and contribution. So I do believe that Hamasaki Ayaka continuing what she did to do for such a long time definitely contributed to Japanese women's MMA being more recognized and accepted like it is today. So it's everybody worked hard to make women's MMA accepted as it is today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's got her claim to, I think she's probably, the greatest atomweight of all time. She's definitely up there. It's been incredible what she's been able to do. So I will leave you with one last thing here, Megumi. I won't keep you as long as I did last time, because the story is over now for now, but it always lives on, of course. But so I'll leave you with a fun question. I saw you go to the beach recently, which looked amazing. I got to know, what are some of your favorite places in Japan? Where would you recommend, when I finally make it over there, where are some places to go and enjoy visiting?
During when I was fighting, and I like to, on my days off, I would like to put myself in nature. I'd like to surround myself in nature, go to the ocean, go to the mountains, and put myself in nature, which is very relaxing for me. Like when you're in the hustle, when you're in the trenches every day, you're surrounded by all sorts of, you're thinking of so many things every day. You have to do this, you have to do that. But when you put yourself in front of Mother Nature, it makes you realize how small you are. And at the moment, it makes you recognize how small you are and how small whatever your things are, whatever your stress is, it makes you recognize how small everything is. So on my days off, I like going out, put myself in the nature, and resetting everything gets my mind very clear. And I still like doing that. So I like going out to the oceans, mountains, rivers, and try to spend as much time out in the wilderness as much as possible. And Drake, if you come to Japan, she would really want you to come to Fukuyama, where she lives, and eat great oysters, Japanese pancakes, okonomiyakis. We'll drink some we'll drink some booze, and we'll have a good time over here in Fukuyama.
Awesome. Yeah, of course, always good to escape and get into nature and all that. But yes, that all sounds excellent as well. I'm in. It sounds good to me. All right. Well, that's all I got for you this time, Megumi. I will keep you no longer. Thank you so much, so much, for joining me here today, for joining me the first time, allowing me to be able to help, spread the word and share the story of, your legacy that you left behind, because it's really one that I think anybody who's interested in MMA should know about. I mean, it's important to know history and where people came from to get, to where we are today. It's kind of a big deal. So it's an absolute honor to get to do that for you. And it's always great getting to talk to you. So thank you so much. I wish you the best. And, of course, if we can get that third fight with Jessica to happen, that's cool too. So good luck with everything going forward. And thank you again.
Yeah, so she's saying that it's been an honor, Drake. Thank you so much for making this happen. She was thanking me to making this happen. That piece was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for making everything happen. Japan's MMA scene is right now it's facing a true challenge with this this whole situation. But we do hope that we can get over this. Fujimoto-san will play her part in raising and bringing up new talent, teaching the new generation, bringing them up. So she'll play her part, and we'll do our best to keep Japanese MMA going. So Drake-san, please follow us, and if you could spread the word on what we're doing, we would greatly appreciate that.
The whole point of this show.
And she will let you know as soon as Jessica's third fight is confirmed.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. And going from a retired legend, we will go to a rising young prospect in the bantamweight division, Mr. Naoki Inoue. All right. Well, congratulations, Naoki, on your win. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sure it was great to be back in the ring and all that. I mean, so, how was your second appearance in Rizin, compared to the first?
To jump to conclusions, I was able to I got used to fighting on such platform compared to my first event. Obviously, I'm just very grateful that we were able to fight in front of an audience during these times. And, maybe it's a combination of me being my second time and a combination of the event not being so full of people. You know what I mean? Like Rizin had to decrease the amount of spectators. So with the combination of lesser people and my second time, I was able to fight much more relaxed than my first fight.
Of course, of course. And I mean, as far as the fight itself, were you kind of surprised that Shudo, he tried to wrestle so much, and so quickly, and all of your finishes have come by submission.
So the way he fought was absolutely what I anticipated him to do. He knows that my stand-up is much better than his, and for him to be able to capitalize during this fight was his ground game. He had to fight with his bread and butter, so he had to take the fight to the ground and go for that choke. So that's what I've been working on, and he fought exactly the way I thought that he would fight me.
Of course. And, ended up getting the win there, which was awesome. Very quick. I think it was your third quickest victory, which that's always great, right? Get in, get out. And right afterwards, it seemed like maybe interested in Ishiwatari for the next fight. Is that, what's the story there? Is there some beef, or just like the idea of Ishiwatari next?
So there's absolutely no backstory behind it. I was asked during the interview, in the ring, and Ishiwatari's name was the first thing that came up to my head. So I'm kind of, I'm not the kind of person who calls people out. So that's the first name that came to my head and what I said. So there's absolutely no bad blood or no bad intentions behind that comment.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably just you look and you see him. Oh, there he is. So there's a guy I could find. He's out there doing commentary and all that. So makes sense. But also another person who was fighting on the same card as you. Kai Asakura, new champion in your division. Just curious. What did you think of his performance, and maybe eventually fighting him someday?
That night, Asakura Kai was absolutely dominant. He fought his game. He brought his game. He forced his game to a very tough opponent, and he fought where he was dominant, and he dominated the fight. So I really think that he's a very good fighter, and he's very good at fighting in his strengths, where he's strong at. In terms of me fighting him, yeah, I mean he's a good fighter. At the end of the day, I'm also going after that belt, so eventually it's something that must happen. But I'm not picking opponents at the moment.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, do you have an ideal timing of, you're still very young and, you have plenty of experience under your belt, which is quite impressive as well. But do you picture, ideally, when is Naoki Inoue champion? How soon would you like to make that dream a reality?
So obviously I have to win my fights that are in front of me. But if I keep winning, eventually that opportunity will come. So if things go right, maybe I'm thinking next year, or maybe 2 years from now. But I'm going to focus on all the fights that are in front of me, and then winning one by one would eventually get me that opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Just got to make it undeniable. And I think that I know that you were surprised by it, and a lot of people were when you were released from the UFC after one loss, and it was a split decision of all things. How has it been motivating for you, kind of having that chip on your shoulder, okay, they let me go. Now, do you feel like you have to prove yourself a little bit more after it was a surprise thing, like I said?
So me being released with some fights without fulfilling my contract, it was definitely disappointing. But at the end of the day, it was my fault. And what's more important is that the fighter who beat me is still in the UFC and is still performing well, and that itself is something to be said of. And I think I'm very happy. I'm very proud the fact that I was able to get to the UFC with my abilities I had back then. And I just want to continue to win and prove my level of fighting wherever I go.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine. And, speaking of the UFC, your sister, Mizuki, unfortunately coming off a loss now, but I'm curious, what has it been like for you getting to grow in the sport, with your sister? I mean, it's a pretty rare thing that we see. I mean, I guess it's becoming more common now, but siblings in the sport, and you guys, doing your thing, both still very young and, have plenty of experience. Just what's it been like growing up together, in the sport, really?
The reason why we started training martial arts was get into the UFC. That was our goal from the beginning. So with that mentality, with both of us having that mentality, it was easy for us to focus on every aspect of the fight game. So we didn't start off with just a martial arts background. We started with everything. We knew what we needed to work on because both of our mindsets were set on getting into the UFC. So we did striking, jiu-jitsu, wrestling. We worked on everything, and I think all that hard work paid off, and we are where we are now.
身についたことが全部出し切れてるかなと思います。
Yeah, definitely. You guys it's amazing to watch, the brother sister combo. It's very cool, and a unique thing, I would say. So I'll leave you with this, Naoki. Thanks so much again for the time. But yeah, just curious, and do you have any favorite fighters or inspirations that helped you get into the sport, or people you like to watch, other fighters, those types of figures?
So when I first started, I didn't really have set favorite fighter, but once I started really getting into kickboxing, Masato, the big name in Japan at the time was Masato, so he became one of my idols to motivate, which motivated me into practicing kickboxing more.
そんな感じですね。
じゃあ、マサト選手ってことですね。
そうですね。最初に憧れた選手はマサト選手ですね。
Nice, very cool, good choice. All right, well, that's all I got for you, Naoki. Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you for joining me. And I look forward to seeing whatever's next for you. I think the future is very bright.
Thank you so much.
And last but not least, it is the former Rizin Super Atomweight champion, Ayaka Hamasaki. All right, well, thanks so much for joining me, Ayaka. It's a pleasure to get to talk to you again. I don't know if you remember, but we did an interview about, a year ago, so it's been a while since we caught up. So thanks for joining me here. I got to know right away, how did it feel to get to fight again after, waiting through the long quarantine?
So, the gym I go to train MMA is it's located inside of a Gold's Gym. So with this whole pandemic going on, the Gold's Gym itself shut down. So it wasn't like I wasn't able to go to the dojo or anything. It was like I couldn't even get into the facility to get to the gym. So, there were maybe a month or two where I couldn't do anything but just kind of work out and stay in shape in my own house. But it started to get me, started thinking, what if this continues? What if I cannot continue to train? It kind of mentally gets you, right? It gets you concerned. But I do believe sometime in the beginning of June, the gym kind of opened up again, and we slowly got back into practice. So it just kind of this quarantine period made me realize how lucky and made me grateful for the environment that I'm put in on an everyday basis. Just being able to practice at the gym, I just took it for granted, and it just really made me realize how grateful I have to be.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, you never planned for this kind of thing, right? And maybe we should now, but yeah, definitely caught us all off guard. And I mean, what were some things that you did to stay busy? I know you have a whole bunch of dogs. I'm curious, how many pets exactly you have, but I'm sure they were a good distraction, right?
今、猫3匹と犬2匹です。
Right now, I have 3 cats and 2 dogs.
Okay. Nice. Little family.
So during the quarantine, I couldn't really do much to, as far as work on cardio. I would jog outside a little bit, but I have a bum knee, so I couldn't really do hard work like sprints and stuff. So I did buy some training gear so I could train at home, but it was nothing hard to get my cardio going. It was just to stay in shape. So Yeah, didn't really do much.
Is the knee, is that still an issue, or is that something maybe, the time was good to heal it in that regard, or is that an ongoing thing?
Yeah, it's an ongoing thing. I've cut my ACL 3 times, and I've already had surgery on it 3 times. So even when I'm healthy, I can't really go for long because it starts hurting. So it's just something I have, and I'm gonna have to keep dealing with. But yeah, it's just I try not to work that knee too hard.
Wow. Okay. That's news to me. That's pretty amazing, considering how, your career's gone and you've been so great for so long. And, even in this last fight, another incredible performance, did exactly what we expected at you to do in there and get the win against Tomo Maesawa. Did that fight go according to plan for you? Were you happy with the performance?
So one of my projects have been to work on my hands, my striking. And for this fight, I really wanted to not showcase, but I wanted to test what I could do on my feet. So I was pretty much, my mind was set to strike with her in the first round. And I wanted to test myself and see what I could do and see if I've improved and I can utilize what I've been practicing on. And as far as the second round, I was pretty confident that I could finish her. I could submit her on the ground. Which I guess I did. So I forced that in the second round. So yeah, I would say that the fight itself, turned out as planned.
Yeah, it was a really good showing, I would say, of course. And, your hands are getting better, over time. It's impressive how, just you're getting better with age. It seems like a fine wine, as they say. And, you actually did have that tag team match against Atomo as well. It was a couple weeks before, right? So, I mean, how soon? Well, okay, first of all, how was the grappling match doing that, the tag team against her in the first place? And then how soon after was the fight made? Or did you know about it at that time as well?
So yeah, first the grappling tag match itself, it was fun. I enjoyed it. It's a very unique rule set. So when I fought, when I competed, my opponent already had a few minutes with another competitor. So when I faced her, I knew that she was already fatigued. She spent a lot of energy already. So when I grappled with Tomimatsu-san, it really didn't. I got to feel her out, the grappling process, but I also did think, so what would happen if this was an MMA fight? I couldn't really judge her at 100% because she was already fatigued. But the grappling event itself, those unique rules, it's so fun. I had a lot of fun. And as far as the process of that fight being made, so obviously after the grappling match, Maesawa-san, she spoke on the mic and called me out, and I wasn't really serious about it, but I think a couple days later I already got an offer from Rizin, and I didn't really believe it. I didn't really believe it would come this quick, but I was already in shape. I was ready, so yeah, I didn't think twice, and I took the offer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. I mean, it all worked out. That's for sure. I mean, so it's funny because the last time, that we caught up early last year, like I was saying, you didn't really have an answer to this question. And so I'm curious if anything has changed, because, you've done it all. You've been a champion in every organization you fought in now. But, you're still performing as good as ever, I would say, still one of the best in the world. Are you thinking about how much longer you'll fight at this time? Because you were kind of just going with the flow last time we caught up, which, totally fair. But has anything changed since then?
Yeah, so I might be giving you the same kind of answer. So I really don't have a clear answer for that. I'm still going with the flow, and but there's one thing for sure that's changed since last time is that I got my belt taken away, obviously, and I'm looking. My number one priority is I'm looking for that revenge match and getting that title back. So I'm not quite sure under these current circumstances. I'm not quite sure when that rematch is going to happen. Maybe during this year at the earliest, or maybe it might take years. But right now, my priority is to get that rematch against Sohee Ham and beat her and bring that title back. And that's when I think something might change in my mind. So first, I need to revenge and get that belt back. So I think things are gonna go from there.
Of course, and I mean, who doesn't want to see that? The trilogy fight. I mean, one of the best fights ever. I mean, really. I mean, it was really good, and a very close fight as well. I know a lot of people thought you won. A lot of people thought she won. It was very close. But how did you feel? Did you think that you should have got the win in that one?
So as far as the results go, I'm not going to complain with the judges. I do think she beat me fair and square. I do think I lost. According to the Rizin judges, they look at the fight as a whole. They don't score by rounds. So I knew that in the judges' eyes, the second round did not favor me at all, and I knew that going into the third round. I knew that the fight wasn't in favor of me. So I tried to be as aggressive as possible in the third round. I went for that soccer ball kick. I aimed for it, but I missed. So, that's something that I do remember during the fight. So yeah, as far as the judges, decisions, I'm not going to argue with it.
Well, it was still a very good fight either way, no matter who anybody thinks won. It was fantastic, and can't wait for hopefully that eventual fourth, whenever it may be. And so, one of your mentors, obviously Megumi Fujii, I've spoken with her extensively now, and just yesterday, and wrote the big story on her and everything. I wanted to talk to you for that, but things didn't line up, so I got to know now, like, what is your take on Megumi's legacy, and when you look back on what she's done for the sport, how important would you say that she was?
First of all, I don't think anybody could do what Fujii-san did to make. I mean, nobody can do what she did. Let's put it that way. And I do feel obligated. And somebody has to inherit her project or what she started. And I kind of do feel that I'm obligated to be the one to inherit her project on her legacy. And to me, Fujii-san is something very special to me. She's not like my big sister. She's not like my mother, but it's just something a special person to me. And I came to realization how special she was after she left AACC. The team was never the same. The atmosphere was never the same after she left. So those things kind of make me realize how great of a person she is. And for me, she will always be somebody I would look up to and somebody I would be chasing to become as a fighter and as a person. Right now she's retired, so I can't really compare myself as a fighter. So I'll always be chasing her, and my goal is to be like her. So she's that kind of person to me.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a great job, creating a great legacy of your own. Do you have a favorite moment that you guys shared that you can think of, something that stands out as like, when you think of like the bond between you guys? Is there a moment that stands out?
So there's something that all of us have been wanting to do is that I think Fujii-san felt it the most, but she wanted she just wanted women's MMA to be accepted and known, and she wanted to prove, of course, myself, but she the most wanted to prove that Japanese women fighters, athletes can compete against world-class competition. And we've been working very hard and a long time to do this, and I think Fujii-san the most wanted women's MMA to become as popular as it is right now. So with both of us having that mentality, I do remember that once Rizin started and I started fighting for Rizin, right after I started fighting for Rizin, and Rizin is kind of made women's MMA accepted, right? It kind of gave citizenship to the Japanese audience, and right when I started fighting, Fujii-san told me that, it's going to be your job to continue to perform and show what we can do against world-class competition. So I do remember her telling me that, and that's kind of something I do remember very clearly. So it seems like he passed the torch onto me specifically.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. And I mean, I'm sure that was a hard question. Obviously, sure there are plenty of memories to choose from, but just had to see there. So yeah, I think that's all I got for you, Ayaka. But thank you so much for joining. Of course, always great, to talk to you, and awesome stories there. And look forward to whatever's next for you. Hopefully, that title shot, get that fourth fight, whenever it may be. So, wishing you the best. And thank you so much for joining me. And we'll see you when I see you.
ありがとうございます。こちらこそお時間いただきましてありがとうございました。
Yep. All right. That was the first episode officially, Broadened Horizin. Yeah, man. Thanks for helping out, of course. And
no problem.
I think the biggest surprise for me was maybe that Megumi, there was something that would bring her out of retirement. I thought that was an interesting note there.
Hey, this is like a backstory, but actually during the last Rizin event, I think Rizin 22, Megumi-san was in the commentating booth, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was commentating. So as she was leaving, Sakakibara-san stopped her in the hallway, and then Daisuke Sato, the pre-fight video guy, producer, he was also there, and they were definitely trying to talk her into
wow.
it was funny. I kind of jumped in later too, but because right now it's hard to bring in international fighters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just we need to try to get as many domestic fighters to fight on our cards as possible, as much as possible, and especially the super atomweight division. Like they've already fought each other. Like even when you look at the top people, it's top fighters. It's Ayaka Hamasaki, it's then Ham, Kai Asakura, Ryu Yamamoto. And then you got Jinyu Frey, and it's just like these limited fighters, and they've already fought each other once. So it's very hard to bring in a new breeze, I would say. Yeah. But it was very interesting that Sakakibara-san was, she stopped her and like, hey, obviously in a joking way, right? You ready to back, and yeah.
That is funny. And I also thought it was interesting how Kai, it sounds like sure the news might be coming out here soon. I won't do spoilers for anybody just yet, but 2 fights lined up for him, it sounds like. He said he guarantees the New Year one, which that's awesome. So yeah, that's exciting. But all right, you guys, thanks for checking out this very first episode. Hope you enjoyed. We'll be back I'm thinking to do, the preview, maybe before the show, definitely after Rizin events, but maybe before too, because it's good to get the looks, get you excited, talk to the people who are about to fight. I think that's always a good thing too. So
we should try to do that, do one before the fights for Rizin 24 and get the fighters in.
Yes, definitely. Yep. All right. Until next time then.
Excellent.